Cheddar News is celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month by highlighting the history, culture, and contributions of the Hispanic and Latinx communities. We're diving into issues that matter and shine a light on the amazing influence of the Hispanic culture. The world of business is no stranger to this conversation. The growing Hispanic population in the U.S. presents new opportunities and challenges for businesses to grow their operations and become more inclusive, to accommodate and engage with members of the Hispanic community. Joining us now, John Gallegos, CEO of the United Collective. John, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you. Let's start with your story. I want to hear a little bit about it. Tell me about your background and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me. Well, it's not like I thought my ethnicity would ever drive my career. I was a senior at USC and thought all along I was going to go into sports marketing. But an internship that I had done between my junior and senior year working for an agency that specialized in Hispanic advertising led to a job offer. My marketing and advertising professor threatened to fail me and have me repeat the class if I didn't take the job. And she told me that this is the 80s, the middle of the 80s. And she told me this is a booming industry. The marketplace is going to change. She was a bit of a visionary and kind of gave me that nudge. And, here I am 30 some years later with my own agency.
Well, cheers to fantastic educators. I want
Yes.
to talk about an interview you gave the LA Times. You said part of the reason you stuck out on your own when it comes to advertising is because you thought the work that was being done for multicultural or ethnic audiences could be better. Can you tell me what you were seeing at that time where you're like, you know what, improvements need to be made here?
Yeah, it was really based on about 10 years of working in the space for clients and recognizing that the industry was built on the shoulders of visionaries who saw a need to reach untapped audiences. But they were primarily relying on just language and saying there's an audience out there that current advertising isn't reaching, which was true. The part I felt was missing was the creativity, the storytelling, the power behind creative brand storytelling. And that's really the DNA of the ad world. From all, when advertising began, it was about engaging with an audience with a compelling story about a brand, not necessarily telling a story about an audience to an audience. And so we set out to start our agency in 2001. At the time, Grupo Gallegos, which has now been rebranded to Gallegos United. And it was really about putting creativity at the cornerstone of all brand storytelling for us. And we think that's the best way to engage with the audience, is to tell a compelling brand story.
That leads us to the growth when it comes to the Hispanic population. You've talked a lot about how brands need to be culturally attuned to demographic shifts and recognize that these groups do represent the majority of growth in our country. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, John?
Yeah. So this last census, I think, there's nothing new about the Hispanic population growing. That's been happening for decades. I think this last census added a new wrinkle, and the white population actually declined. And so I think really what we need to have happen here is to have a mindset shift and shift from seeing Hispanics as merely a 20% volume minority in the country to, in fact, being a growth majority. They're driving the growth. And for clients and marketers out there, it's important that they build in this growth segment to their marketing plans. You need to win with Hispanics to grow your business. We've done lots of studies here where a client would have to steal share at 3 to 5 times the rate they have historically stole share from their competitors if they don't get fair share with Hispanics. And so really, again, it's a mindset shift of seeing them as the growth majority. And I think what that leads to really is protect the core, invest in the growth. I see what Hispanics are to the populace in the country is what streamers are to cable companies, or what mobile was to the telephony industry. They're the growth driver. And I think the more you put that in there, the better it's going to be for you.
What is the advice you may have for a business, any type of business, that they should know before trying to approach and engage members of the Hispanic community, John?
Probably tell you 3 things that we start with. One is there's no one size fits all. Like with most marketing efforts, there's going to be nuances that you're going to have to get to around the audience. The second is to recognize that they represent growth. Don't bolt on the efforts you're going to do. Have a sustained commitment. And then the third is to take an internal audit and see where you are. That way you don't start conversations in mid-sentences. You understand where the Hispanic consumer is in relation to your brand or your category today. And that will lead to more effective starting conversations or continuing or changing the conversation.
John, I think that's fantastic advice. I have about 30 seconds with you. You are the CEO of United Collective. Tell us a little bit about the work you're doing here.
So our sole purpose, and we say SOUL, soul, is to help clients grow with a more creatively driven and culturally attuned approach to their marketing. And that's really at the core of what we do. And we're building a complete toolbox, a marketing ecosystem from creative to media to technology and digital solutions to measurement.
John Gallegos, CEO of the United Collective. We hope you come back, John. Thanks so much for your time.